Hey guys, so in this lecture we'll understand what are commands in WPF. Now commands in WPF play a very important role when you are developing application in WPF using Mvvm pattern. Now the sole purpose of WPF commands is to avoid code behind or button click events. So in this lecture what we will do, we will understand the concepts of WPF commands, how these commands are implemented. We will build a very simple WPF command so that it is not complex for you in the first place, and then when we will be building a Mvvm application, so we will see the detailed usage of WPF commands in that application. So let's start with theory part of WPF commands. Now commands in WPF are basically loosely typed events. So you might have seen that when you write a logic on your button click, you need to double click that button and then write the logic behind that button, right? So it's called as code behind. So basically what happens, you write that code in the code behind of that button, or you write in the button click event of that button. Okay, so now when we use commands in WPF, so it also behaves like a event but is a loosely typed event. That means that you are not writing any code behind that button, so you're not tying up your code behind that button. You are writing an event, but you can hook up that event later whenever or wherever you need to do so. So the idea of writing commands is to completely avoid code behind like button click event. So this thing I have explained you. Now take for example, we need to print a document. Now to print a document, you need to you can follow three ways. Either you can click on print button, or you can say Ctrl+P, and then, or you can right click onto that document and submit print. Now imagine if you are following this approach of writing code behinds on each and everything, so you need to write these code 3 times. That is on the print buttons event, in Ctrl+P keys event, and onto the right click of that document. So hence there is a lot of code repetition. Now imagine if we write a simple command for this print and later hook up that single command to all these 3 procedures, that will be quite easy for us. So this will in this way we can avoid the code repetition and avoid the code behind. So remember, what's the sole purpose of Mvvm pattern is to avoid code behind, or you can create loosely typed applications using Mvvm pattern, and this could be achieved with the help of command. So command play one of the most important roles in Mvvm pattern. So imagine the code repetition if we follow the traditional code behind approach. So better solution is to write a single command and hook it to wherever you want it to. So now let's understand how to write a simple command in WPF. So first we should look into the theory part, and then we will jump on to Visual Studio. Now for writing a command, you need to implement interface I command. So there is a special interface called as iNotify property chain interface for providing chain notification in WPF. There is a special interface called as I command. Now this interface is present in system.windows.input namespace. So I will show you this thing when we will build the command. Now this interface has 2 methods, execute and can execute. So as you are aware, in the concept of interfaces, there are empty methods. So same concept goes here. In this I command interface, there are 2 methods called as execute and can execute, and these execute and can executes are not implemented. So you need to implement these execute and can execute methods. Now can execute is a method which represents the condition in which your command will be fired. It's a Boolean method. So can execute is a method which returns only true and false. Now say suppose you need some condition to fire your command, you can write your condition onto that can execute method. So once that condition is true, your command will be enabled onto the screen. So we will see this in our example. Now execute method represents the logic of our command. So take for example the example what I've told you in the previous slide, the example of print method. So the logic of print method will be written in the execute method. So let's see all these points into our action. So let's move to Visual Studio. So here I have a very simple UI and I have just a single button onto the screen, right? Now say suppose I need to display a message box to display some message, right? So on the traditional WinForms approach or code behind approach, what we used to do, we should double click this button and go onto the code behind file and write messagebox.show test, or you can say I should write a custom message. So this is code behind, right? Let's try to run this application. So this is the traditional approach what we followed. Now Mvvm pattern does not allow this thing. So you are getting a message, this is a code behind. Now let's try to eliminate this button click event and do the same thing with the help of commands. Okay, so let me remove this. Let me have this, and there should be a event generated for this thing. So let me remove this also. And now let's try to build a command. Okay, so let me save this. Now remember, this is not a Mvvm application. I'm just trying to explain you what are WPF commands. So first we need to add a new class. So I will add just a new class and it will say as command. So this will be in this class we will adding our class adding our command. So public class command. So first and foremost thing what you need to do is implement the interface I command. So let's implement I command, and you can see my Visual Studio is not able to resolve this. It says using system.windows.input. So this interface is present in system.windows.input namespace, and this is also a very important interview question. Some of the interviewers might ask you that which namespace is command interface has been present. And now you need to implement this interface. So let's implement this interface, and you can see I've got a event handler which says can execute changed. So this event handler will be fired whenever we will fire this command. So you need to hook this event handler, right? So we'll do this, and you can see these two methods. It says can execute and execute. So let me delete the default implementations of these methods. So now this can execute method returns a boolean that is true or false. So whatever be the condition of our command to be fired, that should be written in here, and whatever the logic of this command, that would be written in here. So we are just creating a generic command right now, and we will implement this command onto the view model. So this is the basic pattern which is followed onto the Mvvm pattern. Now I am making this command as a delegate command. So we will be using delegates inside this command. The reason why I am using delegates is to make this command as reusable command. So let's try to make this command using some delegates. So first we need to define a delegate of type action, and return the parameter is object. So let me have execute method variable. So this variable is a type of action delegate, and then I will have this func delegate defined. So the parameters it will have is object and a boolean, right? And can execute method. So this is a variable of type func delegate. So it's very simple here. I have just defined two parameters or two variables, execute method and can execute method, which are of type action and func delegates. Okay, and now let's define the constructor of this class so that my command is automatically wired up whenever I start this application. Okay, and onto the parameters of this constructor, let's pass these parameters. So these parameters are not same. We will make it same in our next step. So this is basically a simple C# code. So we need to, whenever we need to initialize some parameters, we do it this way. We pass those parameters onto the constructor of that class, and then we assign those parameters onto these variables. So how do we do this? We write this dot execute method, so equals execute method. Similarly we write this dot can execute, equals can execute, right? So I have initialized these variables here. Now let me take this event handler below these methods just to make you understand. And for this can execute, right now let's write just return true. So I'm not writing any condition right now. Just to make this command fire on its own, I'm just writing return true. Okay. Now onto the logic part, I'm just passing this execute method. That is, it's a action variable, right? Now what's the function of a action delegate? It performs some action. So for this command, I will just write this execute method and pass this parameter object in here because it's asking me to pass a object, right? So sorry, let me copy this and pass this parameter here. So it's a very simple code, and just to make you understand, I have tried to keep things very simple for this command. So this is a generic command that I have built. Now the real implementation of this command will happen onto the view model. So let me add a class again and call this class as view model, right? Now let's make this class as public class, and let's make a instance of this iCommand interface. So let's have instance of this iCommand. Now again, since I have added this new class, I need to have this system.windows input namespace. Okay, and let me name this command instance. So whatever command I am building, this is the name of this command, and let me have a specific get and set methods for this command. Okay, so whatever command I have made, that's command name is my command. Okay, now onto the constructor of this view model class, I will initialize this command. So I will say my command equals new command. Now this command class is being made by us here. So I have added this command class here. So this command class implements iCommand interface, and I am making an instance of this iCommand interface and pointing it towards my command class. So it's simple OOPS concepts applied in here, right? I hope this is clear to you. Now you can see there is an error. It says that this command constructor expects a function and action delegates. That's because in the constructor of this command class we have passed these actions and function. Okay, so let me now pass these parameters onto our command class. So it expects a action object and a function object. Now before we do this, we need let's comment it out, and then first we need to define these parameters, what we need to pass it in here. So I will write two methods, private bool can execute method. So this is my custom method and it returns true. Okay, and then I will write private void execute method, and I will then write the logic what I need to pass on to this command. So as I told you that execute method always has the logic, right? So I will have messagebox.show command executed, no code behind, right? And now let's uncomment this and pass these parameters in here. So this execute is the action. So first it expects a action and then it expects a boolean. So let me have this thing Now why I'm getting these errors in here, that's because in my generic command it's expecting a parameter, right? There should be some parameter passed of object type. So let me write same here, parameter. Okay, and let's pass the same thing in here. Okay, now you can see the command that I built. This is a very simple command. So this is the generic command this is the soul of this command. So I have defined two action and func variables. I have initialized these variables in here, and in the can execute part of this I command interface I have two methods, can execute and execute. I have written true, and I have then wrote this execute method parameter. Now I have hooked up these two methods in the view model. So in view model we write the actual logic of these methods. Okay, so I have created an instance of this I command as my command. This is the name of my command, and in the constructor I have initialized this my command instance to this command class and pass this action and func delegates. So it might be quite complex to you in beginning, but just to make you understand, I have tried to keep this example as simple as it gets, right? Now let's go on to the XAML file and hook up this command to our button class. So let's go to our button. It's defined in here. Let me expand this so you can see it clearly. Let me have this thing expanded, and now we will define our window resources. That's because we need to include this view model class onto our XAML file. So I will have window.resources, and then I will have this local namespace. It's defined in here. Okay, and then I will pass this view model class and give it a key. So if you're new to these concepts, please go and watch my resources video. Now let me name this key as VM, and let me close this. So I have hooked this view model class, which was defined in here, to this XAML file. So by default this XAML file is bound to its code behind, that is XAML.cs. But now I have bound this view model onto our XAML. Right, now onto the button click of this button, or you can say the command parameter of this button. So I will have command, I will pass the binding markup. So I will bind this command what I have made and pass the name of my command. So this is the name of my command, and to define the source from where my command is coming, it's coming from my view model. So I will pass source. So I forgot to put the comma in here. So I will have this source as a static resource. That's because I have defined it as a window.resources. So whenever we use window.resources, we define it as a static resource. So I'm getting my resource key in here, VM. So I bound this command now onto my button click. Let me save this. Let me build it once, and let me run this application now. So let's try to run this. You can see my application is running. Let's click this button, and you can see command executed, no code behind. So I have not written anything in my code behind. This is executed with the help of a command. Right, now let's try to see what happens if I say return false in here. So now my can execute is not returning true, it's returning me a false value. That is, my condition is becoming false. So let's try to run this now, and you can see my button is disabled. So you can understand that whenever there is some condition, this button will be enabled, right? So this is the condition of my command. So we will see this condition whenever we will build our Mvvm application. So for now, for keeping this video as simple as it gets, I'm just passing true and false and making you understand that what what is the function of can execute in the command section, right? So this was a very simple implementation of commands in WPF. So I know this video has become a bit long, but just to make you understand, I proceeded very slowly. So I hope you understood this video. Please practice it, and once you get hold on, when you will practice, you will understand that how we can build our custom commands in WPF. So thank you so much guys for listening. If you have any doubt, please leave a comment below, and please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.